everybody. Welcome back to the That Comic Show, the roundtable discussion. We're talking about Thor, Love and Thunder. We waited until the weekend was over, so now we could just get right into all the spoilers because we get right into the spoilers because y'all should have made y'all way to the movie theaters at least once to see this movie. In the room, I got my man's I Am Legend. Down there, got my man Color is Everything. Colors everything. Never mind. Sorry about that.
Kills everything.
Got little Sam's over here.
Nice.
Mike, but it's all good. So, Thor: Love and Thunder. So I know we've been trying to uh kind of keep our judgments kind of close to the chest a little bit. Um, let's address the elephant in the room. This movie is very divisive. It's not a overall, Marvel hit it out. Everybody's in one accord, singing praises to this movie. It's very divisive. I haven't seen this from a Marvel movie in quite some time, so I'm curious as to just asking the question first, and then we'll get into our pros and cons. Did you feel that this movie was somewhat divisive amongst fans?
That's a good question. Actually, it's definitely divisive. There has been some in a while, but never like this big. Like usually, there's a like overall saying like, okay, we all like this, but this one has kind of been split, like you said. Like even when I was coming out the theater, I actually heard someone says, yeah, like they could have been better though. And of course, um in our Facebook group, there was people that came out and said like, nah, it could have been this, but I gave it a this. And looking online and listening to reviews, they all had pretty much the same thing. Like they either really liked it or they really didn't. It's probably because of the director of the film and his direction,
Mm,
his vision of the film.
hmm
And I think
hmm
that if you are not a fan of that, then you won't be a fan of this, no matter if it's your favorite Marvel character or not. If you
Facts.
don't like his style, you won't like this film. Simple as that.
Facts. Facts. Yeah. Facts. I didn't hear. I think I remember hearing one comment. I didn't much care, and I typically don't much care to pay attention to like the random moviegoers' thoughts. Clearly, I listen to y'all, and then we'll get your feedback. Um, and so I think what I've seen, kind of across Twitter, um, you know, loosely, and I mean very loosely, Instagram posts. I see a couple of people saying stuff like, "I guess it's divisive." I feel like you're ignorant if you didn't watch Thor Ragnarok and you feel like this is divisive, then I'm like, you don't get it, like because this is to me in line with what was already being established.
I I think I don't know. I guess we could get into it. I think what people was wanting was probably like the beginning of in-game Thor, where he was serious, he was focused, and like he was just
You
I
mean
don't know.
depressed?
Yeah, kind of like that, something of that matter. But I'm thinking like we've seen that in like Dark World before. Like I don't think I want to ever go back to that those type of Thor films. And some people call Thor, more of a running joke now. I heard that several times. So, like I say, I think
How
it's
sway?
the
I'd be
director's
curious to
vision.
know like I'd be curious to see where they see him as like where the running joke for him comes in.
Well, Travis is not here, but remember when What If episodes with the party Thor, where Travis was like bashing that they don't like that specific type of Thor. They want the God body. I'm the man Thor, the unworthy storyline Thor in the comics, maybe something like that. I'm guessing that's what people was looking for,
I,
and
I,
they didn't get that. They got more of
I
like
think
an
that you know what
'80s type of. I don't
that
even know what
feels
type of thing it
that
is.
feels so like white America upset that their idol of what it means to be white is being made fun of in a way. And I don't think it's being made fun of. It's just like it's a
Okay.
different character, right? Like y'all got all these white heroes. You mad that they made one funny and like not so pressed to assert power and Well, maybe that's me thinking too deep. But I was like, y'all need to sit down.
I didn't think that deep either.
Take several seats.
Like real talk. I understood where the division came from and as well, and I'm right on your side there. You know, colors everything. Like it was like if you saw Ragnarok, it's literally it's along the same lines. Like everything kind of aligns perfectly, and I think something that a lot of people miss was Thor's actual story inside of this story, inside of this movie.
There we go.
And we're going to touch into that. So let's dive right into it right now. Let's get into the pros. So I could tell y'all one of the pros for me was basically just seeing the story of Thor, seeing where he started as an arrogant young god, thought he had all the power, thought he had all the knowledge, got humbled on Earth, and then Thor 2, he had to kind of learn how to get into that role of being a king, and then Thor 3 Ragnarok, being stripped of everything, Mjolnir, being stripped of that kinghood, and knowing that he's not even heir to the throne per se, and then 4. It's like a combination of everything that he has lost. He's lost his mom, his father, Loki several times. And even though they jokingly put that in the beginning of the film, they kind of did like a little rough, summarization. But
I thought that was funny as hell. How many times can he die?
When he's talking to with Rocket.
Korg?
Yeah. Oh. You can hear me?
Yeah, I get you.
Okay. I was saying that story that him and Rocky was talking, and he was saying how he's lost so much, so what more can he lose going up against Thanos? And seeing that part showed me the brokenness of his spirit. And seeing how this movie starts off, he's learning how to be okay with that brokenness and knowing that he's a broken man, he's a broken god, and now he's just trying to find his place. And then for everything that happened in the movie, at the end of the movie, for him to lose again, I'm like, damn, like, what can this man take?
That's what killed me. Once Jane showed up at the end, I'm like, no, man, they're not gonna do this. I'm thinking this like somehow they're gonna find like some magic spell.
I didn't read the Mighty Thor.
I did, but I didn't think they was gonna go in this direction at all. And at that time, like I started getting teary-eyed, like, because I knew it was gonna happen next. Like,
the moment that she was in the movie, I should have known she was going in that direction. The fact that her very presence is here means that there was only one direction they can go in.
You know what?
They change. MCU changes things, but they generally align.
This
with
is
their
true.
Story counterparts.
But it was so much. Like Corey was saying, like I'm thinking about Thor's whole storyline. I'm like, please don't let him lose somebody else again. Like, just to have one good Thor movie where it ends on a good note.
Which is ironic that you say that. It's ironic that you say ends on a good note because I think it did, and I would say that's actually why I liked it. I like the fact that we got essentially what I think they're breaking down and what Taika Waititi has done is give you the humanity of a god, right? Like. And which is what makes this, me, I'm always looking for that story development, character building. I think that's actually what makes this movie that worked really well for it was that they actually played up on this theme, is that what is a god? And regardless of your religious background, I think they play into that idea, like how informed should gods to be, especially introducing the Olympian gods and all of the people that watch this. And if you remember history class, and our understanding of Greek mythology, or you understand mythology, like Roman gods and Greek gods sucked. You know what I'm saying? Like that's what was played up here. And so I think that actually tied into who Thor is. So this lost gain theme to me made him worthy. Reminded us that like he isn't like the other gods. You know what I'm saying? Like he's different. And humor, and did it in a humorous way.
Yeah, like some of the humor that they have in this was shocking. It took me off guard, but like even with Jane's cancer, like how they had serious humor moments that played with it. I'm like, damn, like this is really a bad thing, but they make it a little funny and make it a little lighthearted about it. But like I said, at the end, that still killed me. Even though I knew it was coming, I thought like there might be a chance that eternity grants her like a another life or something like that. I thought that might play a part.
That's
But
why Thor 5 is gonna be different, y'all. We know the
yeah,
story. Thor 5 is gonna be real different.
I, I
Another pro, I think, for this movie also was the balance of action.
okay.
I think sometimes Marvel movies, sometimes, even in now they're branching out into different genres, into different, basically each movie having its identity.
mhm.
I feel like at the core, though, like these movies are still action movies. And so I think sometimes some movies lose sight of that, and you're like, I need a little bit more. We want to. When I read the comic books, I know there's a story there, but I'm looking for the big action piece. Like I'm looking for how they do something different with their power and all. And I saw a lot of that in this movie. I saw Thor essentially wield godlike power without
Yes.
effort, and that was nice because we're supposed to believe he is one of the strongest people in our MCU, right? Like some fights shouldn't be hard for him. You know what I mean? Like it just really shouldn't be. And I think I got that at good moments. So I thought that was a pro on
Yeah.
behalf of the movie.
And speaking of his like powers, I like how he started using I don't know what's the actual name of the power, but the whisper to mirror, whatever, like the grant
Oh,
people
to inscribe?
powers.
Yeah,
Yeah,
to inscribe
like
something.
we seen Odin do it, and now we see like Thor's coming in age. Like the older he gets, the stronger he gets. So
Yeah.
I like seeing that part of it. Definitely a pro.
I think they did a good job with showing that level of godhood, and um, I also like the fact that there seems to be like a hierarchy of gods in the MCU, and I love the fact that we're starting to tap into that cosmic realm to know that you have humans, you have your metahumans, or not metahumans, I guess. There'll be enhanced humans. Mutants, we don't really know where they fall, and then we have those who are kind of tapping into that godhood. So we have like the Black Panthers that's tapping into that godhood. Then we have Thor, who Odin said himself that they're not gods. They just they born, they live, they die. They just live for 5,000 years and stuff, and they're very, very strong. So they're not. They don't really necessarily see themselves as gods, but we as humans identify them as gods. And then you go to this pantheon where you see literal ancient gods that's from our history, like the Mayans. You see other gods that people pray to in there.
Notably absent though was it Ra? Did anyone see
Right.
Ra? I was looking for him.
They see Rod. They mentioned him. Thor mentioned him. So I was looking around for him.
Thought
So
that was
I
interesting.
love that. I love that. All right, well, we like, oh wow, like thought Thor was like, a god, and in actuality, he looks up to the real gods. When it
It's kind of like they're the first superheroes.
right,
And Zeus made
Yeah,
a mention like that before. Like they don't
yeah.
look at gods no more; they're looking at these superheroes. And I think that's probably what it was. They were just like ancient beings that kind of like the Watcher. Like he's an ancient being, but he was just there for a long time.
yeah.
Got used science, magic, whatever you want to call it, and just stronger than everybody else for lower beings, and they was getting praised and worship for it. So I think that's what it was.
I mean, that's
But
that kind
but that throne room that you mentioned, that was my all time pro of this movie. That that jumped the movie in points for me. Once I seen the
of. But
silhouettes of the people there, I'm like, this
before,
is crazy. Oh,
before
okay, go ahead, go ahead.
I want us to talk about that, but I don't want to miss out because I think Gore, the introduction of Gore was is along the lines of seeing these gods, how he finally reached his god that he's been praying.
Yeah.
And I don't know, for me, I'm a Christian, and for me, I kind of felt a certain way about it, not in a negative way, but I was just like,
It's
huh,
a reflective moment. I will say as a Christian as well, I felt like,
right, like,
dang, what
yeah,
would I like?
But
God, sometimes I be feeling they'll be answering my prayers. Like you just being petty.
it's
but
actually
the ironic thing about it was that type of God was a sun god, and he literally was dying. Well, his daughter died from the sun, for not being able to get no water. So that whole thing, I'm like, that's the guy you're praying to. You're praying to a sun god. You in the desert with nothing but the sun. I don't know. I don't know if that's the right call there, buddy.
and it
But
was just like he was he was cool with it. He was just like, well, you prayed to me. Like, look at this peasant. He wants to eat my foods and all that stuff.
That's the part. I think to me that was to you, Sam's, like that's the part that really, if you look at how this thread goes, and that being the kind of narrative that pushes the other sub narratives, like this idea of, don't your gods. Because he does, and the thing is, he didn't even have his issue with his daughter dying. It was kind of like, oh, but I still met my God. It was how his God treated him. We were like, wait, what?
Not to get too religious, but a lot of people who were once part of any organized religion or religion in general, and they fall out the religion, is because of, my so and so died, and I prayed and prayed and prayed, and they still died. Why? Like, you're not real. You're not there. You don't hear me. You don't hear my cries. I'm broke. I need money. You're not hearing me. That's it. I'm over. I'm done with this religion. I'm done with faith. So a lot of people, they can resonate with Gore the God Butcher because he's literally going through emotions that we as humans identify with, and I like the fact that we're getting more stories with the villains where their gripe is something that we can feel because we've gone through it or we know someone's gone through it. So I love what they
Which
did.
is also the push for present narratives too, because now when you consider that, if that's the theme, right, this like faith in God, Tai Waititi breaking it down into, well, you can always have faith and love. Like that's a thread that everyone can feel, like regardless of your religious affiliation, like everyone has some measure of understanding, connection, intimacy with love. Whether you think it a feeling or a choice, like everyone kind of gets that. And so like this, some directors I think hit the let me take it another angle. I think a lot of people critique Marvel and say like, oh, they're washing out, movies. And I was like, again, it's its own subgenre. Like zombie movies, like people still love zombie movies, no matter how many times you see people die and walk around. Like people still love horror movies. Like, now Marvel has said, hey, let's create this genre that is comic book movies. And within that, of course, they're now doing these different things. And every once in a while, a director comes along, finds his subgenre in this subgenre of movies and does it well. Like Bruce Brothers, they did that action thriller or that spy thriller really well. Like they give you that tense, like, oh, we gonna push it, like we gonna give you these big action sets. And I think Tai Waititi found with Thor this really good way of telling, and what I think is sometimes complex story. But like in a way, you're like, oh, I didn't. That was like lighthearted, but that was also really deep. Like this is a really deep concept, but also hella lighthearted.
Yeah.
I feel like Sam Raimi also got to that stage with Multiverse of Madness, kind of giving.
I so disagree.
I thought the horror.
I knew he's gonna try to add that into this conversation.
It's something totally different that would appeal to people who like that genre, like in their Marvel movie.
Don't take me there, Sam's. Come on, you already know. Like Strange is my character, and I feel like they dropped this mystic side of. But you know what? We're talking about Thor: Love and Thunder. I got shots for that.
All right, so let's get into the real meat of this movie. And for me, being a comic book fan, seeing the throne room with the different faces in there, and then actually seeing Eternity, like I was sitting in the movie, I was holding him, he was sleeping, and I was like screaming, but I couldn't scream loud because I didn't want to wake him, so I was just like,
man, I'm over here. Everything I seen, I'm like, oh, I could hit my wife, and she's like, what is it at? And I'm like, oh, the other side too, and she didn't get it at all. So that's definitely just my problem.
And she was just like.
I will say I am now among the people here in this group that'll say that scene was powerful. I don't know enough of that side of Marvel to connect with it. I knew a couple. I'll be real honest with you, and I say a couple. I knew a couple. Like, oh, I know what that is. So that was amazing for other reasons for me, but not to the way you guys are describing it. I was like, okay, I get it.
Yeah, like I said, I was excited to see because, like we heard about the Living Tribune. We've seen him a couple times, but to see him in that throne right next to the Watcher, right next to Eon on the other side. Who is it? Infinity's on the other side. Lady Death is right there. I'm like, yo.
Now I did
So
see those.
they exist.
Who are those big guys in Eternals? I saw some of them.
Oh, Celestials.
I saw a couple of Celestials. I was able to pick that up.
Yeah. They decapitated one of the Celestials.
Yeah.
All that. Yeah.
That's kind of I think that was a nod to Nowhere, the Celestial that had his head severed and stuff like that. And then you had the two Celestials that was kind of outside that pantheon, the gods' pantheon. But they were more the size of the Celestials from Guardians of the Galaxy when the Collector was talking about, just the stone in general. You saw the Celestial walking on the planet and then got rid of the entire planet and stuff like that. Not the giant Celestials that destroy planets and all that. But just seeing all those, because that's the one thing about Marvel. Like, I love the stories on Earth. I get it. But you know me, I'm like, I'm kind of done with Earth. I want to see what this cosmic realm, how you're going to. Because my whole thing was like, I'm like, yo, we got to the Infinity War. We got to Endgame. We started up there. We ended the fight on Earth. All right, good. Let's put it to bed. We done. Now I want to see what the rest of this cosmic universe is all about. Like, I love the fact that there's an in-betweener, there's a beyonder. I love the fact that there's like Madam Web is part of that whole thing as well. I love the fact that there's some cosmic beings that make you really think like, all right, well, Thor he's supposed to be the god of thunder, but in actuality, he's nothing. He's just a stronger version of a human compared to the other guys.
Asgardian.
Exactly, he's just an Asgardian, and just seeing eternity there. Not saying anything, just seeing the silhouette, and then you see the cosmos in the silhouette. Like, those are the things that I just love to see as a comic book fan, because like, you only have one chance to do something and do it right. When it comes to, like, you mentioned Living Tribunal, Legend, and I want to see Living Tribunal so much, but I've seen so many like hints towards him in these last few couple of movies. I'm just like, yo, if you're gonna show him already. Like, I'm hinted towards him, and then he drop Infinity right there. I'm like, I'm like, oh, like right there. Like, it just, I don't know. It just gave me a whole sense of my own morality. Like, all right, well, the pearly gates and seeing God, and like, how am I going to react to that whole scene? And it's just like him getting to God, like the God, or one of the gods in the Marvel universe. It's just, I loved that entire third act. I thought the third act for me is what really elevated my score of the movie. Because
third act was amazing.
I was kind of like, all right, I get it. I kind of wanted to see a different take on Thor. I wanted to see more of that unworthy Thor storyline. I wanted to see that brokenness a little bit more, and it gave me a little bit more comedy. Okay, but yeah, seeing that part, the third act, I was just like, okay, we still in this.
See, I thought it started off like real strong, like with the first act. But I was looking at it because I remember everything since saying in the text. He's like, I'm gonna judge this really harshly. And the first 15 minutes is a lot of comedy. I'm like, oh, he probably hating right now on this one. Because it's not just regular comedy, it was like quirky type of comedy, especially with the split kick, whatever. I'm like, I'm laughing my butt off, but I can see Rob like, nah, man, you can't do that.
I critique one movie that was dear to y'all hearts, and y'all can't let that go. I would actually say the reason I made that comment was actually for Sam's, because they lean so heavily into the love aspect of this movie, and I got why. The humor wasn't it. Like, I was down with the humor. It was the love that I actually thought Sam's was gonna be like, because he don't like no lovey-dovey stuff, right? Don't give me that part of the story. Not necessary.
This is true.
And Taika Waititi legit leaned heavily into that.
I need to respond to that comment. Now, I don't have that much of a problem with the lovey-dovey stuff.
Except you definitely take a movie down a whole point when it's in there.
There are some stories that I get frustrated with, and I don't want to see over and over and over again being told. To be honest, because of the fact that I knew where the storyline was going with Jane Foster and her being the mighty Thor and her having cancer and everything like that, I was more intrigued of how they were going to showcase that, rather than the whole love aspect. Because I was saying, well, y'all broke up. You weren't in any of the movies whatsoever. So I read and I was like, yo, let's get Enchantress in here. Let's get that love story going on for Thor. I was down for that. I want to see Lady Sif get that love story. But
she had that. She was first movie.
Lady Sif?
Lady Sif was first or second movie.
No, like love interest
in it. Towards that love interest, but they didn't lean heavy into that. No, they also still had that grip. And then like I was just like, yo, I don't want to see her derail Thor's story with his love stuff. Like, come on. Like, where were you this whole time?
But, which is funny because comic book Mighty Thor, that's not even a thing. So Taika Waititi actually flipped it because of the comic book. They were just, I mean, they really weren't even a thought of each other when all that happened. So to make that a thing here, and low key, can we not shout out Lady Sif for losing her whole arm? And like that dialogue between them, great to Valhalla. He was like, "Well, you have to die." She was like her face was like, "Oh, damn."
He's like, "Your arm is probably in Valhalla, but."
Like, I was like, "Yo, I y'all having this conversation?" Like,
I was gonna say when you talk about Jane, they mentioned that in Endgame, Jane was one of the people that was blipped out. So that's why when they came back, she was like, "Yo, it's been like 2 years or something like that." And Thor was like, "Nah, it's been like 8 years right here about now." So,
I don't know. This was I'm indifferent about it. Maybe it's a negative, so I'll save it. I will say a pro is I think they did well with that dynamic. Here's the crazy thing. I actually thought the quadrangle between Thor, Jane, Mjolnir,
and
Stormbreaker was hilarious. Like
funny. I would never thought of it. Never would thought about that.
Because it was definitely a quadrangle, right? Because it was Thor, how he felt about Jane, but also how he felt like Mjolnir. And then also how Stormbreaker clearly felt about.
Yo, Stormbreaker coming around the corner and just like that's the vision I'm talking about. Like, no, I would have never thought that in 1,000 years like that.
But here's the thing: that's comic book accurate because again, Mighty Thor revealed that Mjolnir is what Odin did. For anyone who wants to check it out, Odin actually put the largest storm, like basically a living storm, into the stone. So it's actually a living entity. So when she's able to do things, it's because actually Jane was able to commune with the storm, and the storm communed with her. So like they were in a relationship, which I think they were trying to allude to without having to give everybody that deep backstory. So let me just make it like real surface.
Yeah,
I thought that was
I thought they nailed that aspect of just that dynamic, and even the fact that certain things I'm like, I need more explanation. But this, I really didn't need it. Like, because the enchantment was basically whoever is worthy should have the power of Thor. Yes. So, all that, and then like that extra level of communion, and then on top of that, where Thor said, "Oh, please protect her," and he
that part
get the enchantment to Mjolnir as well. So that all made sense to me. Even and those are the things I love about when I see that in a comic book movie. I don't want you to tell me what happened, because then I have to imagine how that scene went. It just throw it in a flashback, and it could be like 15 seconds, and that was it. And I was like, all right, that made sense, because you already established what kind of magic this thing has. So of course the son of Odin will be able to give that same magic. So that makes sense.
So no one's curious here but me. This is not a negative or a pro, but just a curiosity. Where the hell Heimdall had time to make a kid? Just where?
Oh, come on.
Like where did that happen? If he died in Endgame?
The son is like 13 years old.
So the son was alive, then got blipped out, then came back. Because I'm just curious. No one else questioned that.
No,
I loved it, but I was
also 13 years old. No, he was on the ship going towards towards Earth.
A teenager.
Yeah, he was a teenager.
All right.
It wasn't no baby. It wasn't no 2-year-old, 3-year-old.
Real interesting, because the end of Heimdall's life was pretty war-torn. So I'm like, my guy, where'd you have time to get a little something?
Yo, he took breaks, man. Come on, man.
Okay. All-seeing eye. He closed his eye once in a while. Okay.
Wait, was it like the Warriors 3? Not Warriors 3. What's his name? The guy with the in Ragnarok. He was controlling Heimdall's area.
Zerg.
Executioner.
Executioner, yeah. So why Executioner was over there, Hondo's, going off,
I thought that was real interesting. I was like, oh, okay, all right, cool.
Rob, you're not alone in that, because I saw that too, and I was like, okay, that's a good stretch, because we never hear that.
Oh, come on, man.
That, and if you pay attention to the timeline that Jane and Thor gave, it actually contradicts other information. I think that's the one thing. I know Kevin Feige is real good about tracking his stuff, but the timeline that Jane and Thor gave for their relationship actually doesn't really align to how things happen in the movie.
Say it again. What did he say?
They broke up. If I'm getting real fanboy here, of course, which is what we're here to do. Technically, end of Dark World, right? They would have broke up.
Right.
Yeah. Well,
between
Dark World and Ragnarok, they broke up. But here's the thing: between Dark World and Ragnarok, you have Endgame and Infinity War.
No.
And at the end of
Ragnarok happened before Infinity War.
Ragnarok happened before Infinity War, because at the end of Ragnarok, that's when the ship of Thanos appeared. And then
he didn't show up in anything else. Civil Wars before that. So there was something about, maybe it's my gut.
Like I said, she got blipped, so she only thought it was like
but there was something about their relationship, the way that she said that it ended, like he disappeared.
She said 8 years. So,
but not even mathematically. It's just like the sequence of events, because she was like, "Yeah, Thor, you just disappeared." But he made a mention of their relationship in another movie, and he was like, "They just grew apart." I'm trying to. That was a movie that I watched.
I think it was Ragnarok, because
he's talking to Loki
in the beginning about, like, because he was on Earth trying to find Odin, and I think the girl.
Yeah. Now, does that align to what he said in this movie? Because I think he made it seem more like it just didn't work out, but here it was clearly like deeper than that.
Yeah,
he said it was 8 years. I don't know when Dark World took place, but to him it was 8 years.
Remember,
that was neither a pro or con. It was just a curiosity for me.
So we have to account that 5 years in between Infinity War and Endgame, and then if you look at when they stopped talking, which was probably at the end of Dark World or a year after Dark World, you could gather that is about 8 years that they weren't talking. For her, it was only 2 years because she was blipped. For him, he wasn't blipped. So,
hey man, you guys ready for the cons? I got a big con.
Oh, really?
I got a big con, man.
You know what? Let's roll into the cons then.
Hey man, I just want to get it out first, because I don't want y'all to take my con.
Oh boy,
you changed it. All right, there you go. Biggest con, yo. How should I say this? Like Gore, right? Probably one of the dopest villains I've seen in a while. Like dope, like Killmonger, dope like Thanos, just dope. So many gods were killed. Why didn't we see those guys get killed by Gore? Like, why was that missing from this film? It's kind of like the whole Doctor Strange and Multiverse of Madness thing, where you say it's going to be a multiversal thing, but we only got to see 1 or 2 multiverses. This was like, yo, you're called the God Killer, like Butcher, whatever. Like, this is your thing. I just need to see more than one Butchers. I thought that was let down for me, but like his character was so dope. Like every time he came to the screen, I was fixated on him. Great character, but could have been more.
I will join you in that. That wasn't necessarily my con. I will join you in that, and I think that is where the movie would have been titled differently. So I think they used him as an antagonist, a villain. But if they really wanted to lead into that, it wouldn't be called Love and Thunder. Because if what his scenes would have replaced would have been some of the scenes that emphasize that whole love and thunder thing. So I'm with you as a con, because, like, again, one of my favorite readings, genuinely enjoy that story arc. I would have loved to have seen those battles, right? See him do that and see the other gods get scared. And so for me, I was like,
like 4 or 5, because they said, like, on the when they was on the Guardian ship, they said they got like 100 distress signals.
Yeah,
so like
they had to like separate. That's part of the reason.
Out of 100, just let me get 2 or 3. Just let me see how he sliced that big monster that was laying in the ice. Like let me see something, yo. That was all.
So I gotta agree with you. I thought they could have done a little bit more. They shown some scenes. They had some of the guys were hanging or something like that. in one of those. I kind of would love to have seen, him travel around, even like just like how they did with the Ultron from What If. Like he went to the different places. You didn't need to see the whole battle, but you saw that he was there and what he was doing. So I thought they definitely missed a mark trying to show that much. But to Rob's point, it was they kind of wanted to stick with that Love and Thunder.
Yeah, but I agree with you. So my biggest con is probably on par for me, of course. What the heck does this? Like, I enjoyed the movie. What does it have to do? Where are we going with all this? I think Sam's, you said it before. Like, where are we going with all this?
Hey man, let me know when you're ready to give me the answer. I think I know.
I enjoyed it all. I absolutely enjoyed it all. Even the little twist at the end when he was like, "Oh, that's why they call it Love and Thunder." Like all that was kind of cool to me. It just made me wonder where are we going. Now, my last theory is that all of these stories are actually different timelines, different multiverses. That's my theory. And so that's why it feels so fragmented. That when we look back, like what Loki did, you'll realize, like, oh my gosh, like this is a version of Thor with a version of, like, that's my thought. I think Sam's, you said it though before, and I'm like, but I've been waiting for connections now. I've been waiting to see, like, you've alluded to Kang, like, where are we going with all this? So for me, that was actually the biggest drawback from this movie.
You know what? They did say that this was supposed to be like everything that's supposed to come together.
And I was waiting for it. I was like, all right.
And I think I know. I'm not too sure. I could be totally wrong, but
give me something, bro, because I'm missing.
I'm thinking the guys have like a serious part of the next step in Marvel. Because if you think about it, everybody that's left is pretty much either looking for a god or being taken to a god or working with a god. And I think
so this will be like a God Wars,
and a God War that uses people from their universe or their people to come together to fight. That's called like the Secret Wars.
That doesn't even set up with anything that's been established so far.
I understand.
I'm not saying theory. I'm just like, what? That'd be, to me, that'd be a hard pivot.
Like, Guardians right now, they're searching for.
Gamora.
They're looking for, not just Gamora, but they got the distress signals for gods being either chased, hunted, or killed. So they're looking for gods. The Eternals, 3 of them is being taken to with the celestial god, whatever, to be judged. The other 3, they just ran into Thanos' brother, which is technically a god. So you're seeing all these things where, for some reason, gods are playing a part, and we don't, like, they just came out of nowhere. Like phase 1, phase 2, phase 3, you never heard nothing about them.
Well, what about
now all phase 4? Shang-Chi, the Golden Dragon, was in this film. That god, the dragon. You didn't see him?
I remember. I'm just trying to make the connections. It just still seems like
that's a god too. Moon Knight, god. We've seen a lot of gods. I'm just saying, like, we see a lot of gods, and at the end of Thor, we see a throne room with the 7 main gods in the universe. And my other theory is just a theory, even though they, like, I'm not too sure if that whole thing with Eternal getting a wish was was Eternal in jail, or was that actual just Eternal just sitting down chilling?
That's his home.
I don't know. It's just
they're a minimalist. It's a minimalist. Whichever one.
I see. It's just a theory. Like, that's what I think we're going. I think we're going to, like, more gods, and I think the gods are getting together to set up something for the characters that we know. Just a theory. Could be totally wrong.
So I'm gonna do something I rarely do. I'm gonna push back on you, Legend, for that theory.
Yeah, that's fine.
And I'm gonna agree with what Rob's saying.
Whoa.
Wait, that's horrible. Nope. I understood the first part. But the second part, nah.
This is a multiversal conversation.
When it comes to where they're going in phase 4, I still believe that phase 4 is all set up for phase 5, and I think phase 5 is going to make sense. The problem that I'm having with phase 4 is connecting those threads. Now, I see what you're saying, Legend, by the different gods. These different gods are coming up, but then Eternals Eternals threw a big monkey wrench by having Ereshkigal show up, and Ereshkigal seems like he is the god of all gods. That's how I'm looking at his impact, his presence, the way that they showed his presence. He's a giant celestial in the cosmos. I don't know where his hierarchy is when it relates to Zeus or when it relates to eternity. I don't know where he ranks in that. Now, in the comic books, I know where he ranks. I don't know where he ranks in the Marvel Cinematic Universe. I do see what you're saying in the thread that you're showing with these gods popping up and everything like that. But then everything is all about the multiverse. So it is the gods even a theory when it comes to the multiverse, because are the gods just in this multiverse, in this universe, or are these gods in different so
they are. That's already been answered. That's already been answered. You seen What If? You seen The Watcher? How many watchers was it? It was just that one watcher watching many multiverses. We know in the comics that the Living Tribune is like the god of gods, and he's just one, and he's just a judge. He's just a judge of natural law. That's all he does. People take their gripes to him. He said yes or no, and that's pretty much it. And I think those 7 guys that we seen, those are the big dogs in the way the MCU is gonna create it. They're the actual judges, and they're the ones that actually set precedents, whatever, in this universe. I don't know yet. We don't know yet. That's just
so there's an interesting thread combination that could be here as well.
Yeah, wow. That's why I said it.
I want to say that those legend that I think multiversal theory would allude to the fact that regardless, even if you're a god or not, there's another version of you, because it's a complete different universe, like a complete different molecular structure. Because if that was the case, then I think that dissects a whole lot of stuff in terms of like if they are outside of time, and because that's really what it is. Like multiverse is basically a time theory. Like I made this one choice, and because of that choice, I've created this whole other being. And I think that would change that. And it's possible that this all plays into it. Like all of this plays into this. Like this God war is all a part of the issue. And because I really think that Loki show is really the kind of like catalyst for the next thing, right? Us mostly believing that it'll either be Kang or Doom. That'll be the really big baddie, or a bit of both. And because of how both of these individuals play, some of these other issues and battles could be a part of, like, for the one who remains says, like, this is what I was trying to prevent, right? Because in my timeline, you didn't have Hercules about to go come smash Thor. Like when I was orchestrating things, you didn't have all these little issues, but because of that, I do. Doom now I can see coming in, becoming wind of like, that's a power that I can use, right? Like I could use the ability to orchestrate things to my liking. And so I can see how even your theory about it being about gods, this God battle, really plays into this larger thing where it's still about the multiverse, where it is about like plucking people who are aware of this issue from different spaces into this big battle. Again, my gripe though was that had Kevin Feige not said this is going to pull it all together, and there wasn't like that end scene that made you go, oh.
See, I like
together. Like if I gotta start bringing out my red string legends, you're not pulling it all together. Like that's
you know what I like when we talk about this, because ideas just pop up in my head when we talk about like is the gods in each different universe, and we see with Kang, right? Like he's just a normal human born in the 3000s, whatever, and he was able to see different universes, so he knows where not to go. So to make just that one timeline. So I'm thinking that if a human could be able to have that much power, a God will be able to, be outside of that, be outside of our 3D universe type of things. Just my thing. I don't know. I could be totally wrong.
In the multiverse of madness, I'm sorry to bring it back up, but then it opens up those other possibilities with the X-Men. It opens up the possibility with the Fantastic Four. Now, these are all great stories that we want to see, and again, we're back on the Earthbound and seeing these new powerful beings and everything like that. But man, I really thought that this movie, based on what Kevin Feige said, that this movie was really going to tie a lot of things in. I thought we were going to see Kang the Conqueror at some point, whether he was in the pantheon with the rest of the gods, just sitting, just not just somewhere in the background, something like that. I thought we would see that, and now I'm getting like I have to go back and constantly watch Loki so I could try to use that to thread some because the way that they're going, I feel like they're moving further away from what Loki set up as far as these different threads are happening because there's no hint to like, all right, the TVA is in the background somewhere. There's no hint to,
which is why I hold my theory that these are all like, because I have to go with our gut, right? What we know for a fact is that these things seem separate.
And this means it makes sense. If that's the direction, if they revealed that, all is forgiven.
Could you imagine when, like, if we go back to Loki and he is standing in front of a TVA monitor and he's looking at, oh my gosh, there's a black Captain America, and yet there's also a female Captain America. Oh crap. Love is a god now with that Thor of Thunder, but you still have depressed Thor of Thunder in another universe, and you now have Miss Marvel and her there, but there's also this other Miss Marvel here that happened. Like, because you know what's been noticeably absent in a lot of these movies is that usual connection, as I've been pointing out, right? Like this idea of if these worlds are connected, right? We've had these heroes. How is it this event would happen, and you wouldn't see a connection to this event, and that would only be if these things are happening in isolation, like if these things are happening in their own spaces.
And so far, Rob, there's been 3 movies. I've been counting. There's been 3 movies, 2 shows, and we still haven't seen that celestial in the Indian Ocean. Like reaching out. Like I don't know. I don't know anymore. Like,
and let's keep it a buck, right? Twitter right now and Instagram is going in about Sam Wilson being a black Captain America, but in the MCU, no one seems to like pay attention to that. And I'm like, if it's causing an actual literal buzz in our present world, and at least Sam's small world, right? The Cap world, the Winter Soldier world, like they represent the everyday guy, then it's bound to be impactful in that world too. So that's the only thing I can say is when we pull back, we're gonna see crap. And Fury is gonna be one of the few people with his one eye to see it all and realize like, oh shoot.
And I hate to do this again, man, but you know, like Multiverse of Madness, man. That was the one movie that brought that connection of WandaVision into the movie scale of the MCU, where a lot of stuff that happened in that show was playing the part in that movie. And I'm just like, okay, well, there goes my connection to WandaVision right here in this movie. We had Captain America and Winter Soldier that came out almost 2 years ago, just about. And there's no connection to that story, even with not the Flag Smashers, but the Thunderbolts. All of that stuff, like none of that stuff is coming up. None of that stuff is even remotely a thing. And the only connection that we had to that was Black Widow, and that was a recap of her life before Infinity War, which, in my opinion, wasn't needed. So I'm getting.
Let's be fair though, that it's not that fault. The pandemic threw the impact of that movie way off. I think that was also supposed to set up the Thunderbolts movie, which would have felt more in the line if everything had its appropriate time frame.
Right. I agree with that. At the same time, and this is Marvel's fault, has set up and has been so consistent with change of directors, change of movie dates, and they've been so seamless to where these changes happen, and we as the fans really don't notice it because once the movie hits, it's like boom, the movie hits and we love it. Oh, we hate it. Boom, another movie's coming right in to kind of pick up from where that movie left off in a way with a different character. These movies, I see no linear connection as of right now to these movies, and that's the I think that's where I'm struggling because I know that it's going to be connected. I know they're gonna line it all up and it's going to be glorious. And I'm right there with you, Rob. I feel as though that we're going to get that scene. We're going to get that make everything make sense. But
I think
let's get there. Let's get there already.
I think we all know that it's connected. We just don't know how it's connected. Well, we don't actually. It's not even that. We don't know what the saga is. Right. Kinda like with the phase 1, phase 2, phase 3. We know, hey, that's the Infinity Saga. There's one bad guy who wants to collect the stones and kill everybody.
Because even now,
if this saga is about other teams fighting each other with the Secret Wars, whatever, like this team that we don't know about much about that team, then it's not gonna connect the way
But
we
even
would
that
want it
wasn't
to connect.
Secret War, right? Secret War was, I think the two versions of Secret Wars I know was that a literal like Fury was behind the scenes trying to orchestrate stuff to get things together. Then there's a Secret War where like Doom pulls people out
That's
of
what Doom.
nowhere
Yeah.
and like has them battle. There are just so many little threads that could have potential big baddies that we don't see the connection. Because like first I thought it was going to be the Skrull or reverse it, the Kree invasion. Like I thought they were going to do Secret Invasion, which would have been dope. But the Skrulls are good guys because that to me was a great read. Like this idea of
Yeah.
who's who. Like yo, the Skrulls have completely fully infiltrated heroes. Like, but they're not doing that. Okay, so put that aside. Now you introduce Kang. Okay, we're gonna have a time war. Nope, that hasn't paid off yet. Okay, you're not doing that. Oh, Namor's coming in. Does that mean Doom? But we don't like so again, I double down on like you said, Sam's. It's time for you to give me a little bit of payoff. Because I feel like you're a Marvel fan, right? You know you got a big bank, but I think your withdrawals are starting to run you a little low, right? Like I'm gonna need a new check soon because right now I'm like, guys, we're getting down to
I
and our
usually
next
don't.
movies for this year are what? Well, we have shows. So Miss Marvel, who
Gosh,
last
Miss
episode was
Marvel, She
great.
Hulk, and Wakanda Forever. I think.
Wakanda Forever actually comes out this year, correct?
That comes out in November.
Yeah.
And I'm nervous. And this is the first time.
Well, we're gonna get.
I'm not gonna like that film. I'm not gonna like it.
I'm nervous.
Y'all can't do that. You gotta support. We've got. You can't
I'm
do
not
that.
gonna like it.
You have a right to
There's
do
no
that.
Black Panther. It's no Black Panther. What are we doing?
I think we will get. Well, we're gonna get a Black Panther, of course, and I think Marvel in this case. The reason I am hopeful and I'm actually really excited to look at this movie because they were literally at a lose-lose. Oh, potentially they potentially have a lose-lose situation. The only saving grace is that Killmonger, and because people like Brian Michael B. Jordan enough.
Michael B. Jordan.
They like him enough as a person, and even Killmonger was likable enough as a character where if he was to replace Chadwick, it would be clear that he is not Black Panther, but he could be a Black Panther.
Right.
If not, they like I gotta give this movie credit because Marvel couldn't plan for a guy dying of cancer. Like you just can't plan for that, right? Like there's nothing you can do.
I'm gonna take a book out of Corey. Like I don't like when Corey does this, but I'm gonna do it. I'm just gonna be a fan and enjoy everything and say everything is great. And I don't care. They don't give you guys connections. It's Marvel. Love it. That's it.
Because like in this movie, I'm actually excited for Riri. You know what I mean? Like I was thinking to myself, y'all, and Ironheart. So my thing is, what I think Marvel, and this is my brief
she's gonna be in it.
Why, yeah. She debuts in that, and this is why I think
she's Wakandian.
No, well, we won't know. Comic books, she isn't, but she's in the story. She was casted. I'm like, yo, Marvel's giving like my little girl a hero that she can look up to, and I'm like, that's dope. You know, same thing with I like Miss Marvel, and so I think Ryan Coogler is looking to see how can I push the concept, push what Black Panther represented, without giving y'all an actual like T'Challa, which is hard. Like again, the reason I'm excited for this movie because the fact that they're still going for it, and I think Ryan Coogler has an integrity as a director, and Kevin Feige has integrity as a producer, tells me that they believe well enough in what they have to put it before audiences. And so for that reason alone, I will be hopeful.
I'm scared.
But let me get my score, man, because I got it's drawing late. If that's cool with you, Fearless, so I actually want to say I give Thor: Love and Thunder, like an 8.8, like an 8.8.
Whoa, yesterday was 8.7. I like that.
I set it up 8.8 because I think it did all the things that it needed to do well enough. It kept its identity, so he falls into this action comedy genre. I got character development. You know, how does Thor deal with loss? He chose to deal with it through avoidance and depersonalization, and now he's fully integrated into self. And I got other characters who I enjoyed, and the way you ended, like you gave me enough twist, not even twist, but you gave me enough complexity that drew me into the movie, and you kept your identity throughout it all. And so for me, that's a good movie. Like that is a solid movie. I can't ask for more. Walked away feeling like that was good. The mark for it not getting more was just because expectations, y'all. Just like I felt with Spider-Man, Kevin Feige made me think like, okay, I waited eagerly for these end credits. Like I was like, okay, I didn't see it in the movie, so it's gonna be here. I was like, oh, thanks, that was cool. So that's why it's an 8.8, not even a 9 or higher. Like, because of that.
Gotcha. I gave it a 9. Like I went into the theater. I was little shook. I didn't know what was going to happen, but I enjoyed it from the very first 5 minutes into it. Loved all the jokes, the quirkiness of it. I loved all the fighting scenes. Thor was dope. I wish, like I said, maybe just like a one shot of him just going through and just killing guys. I wish I could be able to see that. Like I said, that's my only con I had of this story. Um, Story was good, written very well. Like they said, the character development awesome. It was a solid 9 for me.
All right. I gave it an 8.5 in my review. I gave it 8.5 in my review. And after the conversation that we just had, I'm gonna stand on that 8.5. I thought this movie it definitely had an opportunity to do some real connection to a lot of the God theories that we've been seeing a lot in the Marvel Cinematic Universe so far. And I don't think they kind of focused on one particular set of gods where we have these Egyptian gods that we've been experiencing and stuff like that. And then we see the Celestials. Even to have a Celestial sitting or even not sitting, but some type of representative or an Eternal in the pantheon. I just thought that there was a lot of things that we could have gotten, but we were so kind of wrapped up in the story with Jane and her dying of cancer, her being the mighty Thor, and then like Thor coming back, and I kind of wanted to see a different perspective from Thor after losing so much. And I got that, but I got that towards the end of the movie as opposed to during the entire movie. And I thought that we could have went a different route with Thor a little bit. So for those reasons, I gave it my score.
Quick comment, because I know this was divisive online too, and I think people will just be doing the most. So everyone has an issue with the spoiler revealing, or the reveal of Hercules based on his other role. And my thought is like, first of all, y'all ninjas seen his upper shoulders and his face. He has mad time between now, just like Natalie Portman, however, whatever her regime was, to bulk up. Like, I like the view of it. I like that they introduced that, and I love the angle of that. Because, again, knowing where they are in the comic books, but seeing where they start now, it's like, all right, how do we get from there to there? Is a pretty dope. So I think that deserves some love and attention more than how like people were trying to go in on it. Because I'm just like,
I think we're getting a buddy cop movie with those two. I think we're going to
and your classic buddy cop too, where you start off like not being friends, can't stay. Like we're gonna get here we go. We're gonna get Hobbs and Shaw. Yes. So it's gonna be Hercules and Thor.
Yeah, I see that. I see that.
As long as they fight first, I'm good. I want to see it.
Now we said it in the chat. Yeah, everybody watching. I hope y'all know. And we don't want no little like I need things to shake. I need the fight to be so much that the Watcher or Doctor Strange goes, you guys cannot fight here. Like I have to push you elsewhere because like you are destroying things.
Yeah. I need to see. I think Thor. The only glimpse of that we got from Thor was when he was fighting the Hulk in Ragnarok. We saw that like him going toe to toe with the Hulk, and I need to see that destruction. I need to see Superman and Zod. I need to see that level of destruction. Like damn the people. I need to see that. I need to see that. But yeah, man. So yeah, Thor: Love and Thunder. It made 143 million opening weekend, the biggest in its in the franchise.
I heard it's 302. Last I believe I checked total. Everything all together, 302.
Yeah, worldwide. Yeah. They definitely they did their numbers this weekend. So let's see how long this is going to last. Let's see how long it's going to continue. I know the next Marvel movie, like we said, is Wakanda Forever, but a movie that's coming out before that would be Black Adam. I think Black Adam is October. So that's a movie that I am eager to see because the way it looks like
you know better. You know better. Stop it. Because you're gonna be the one here. Stop it. You're gonna be the one here all the way at the bottom. Just don't do this to yourself.
Yeah, right. Corey always does that, but me, I'm
mention that it's another comic book movie. Mention that we will most likely, some of us will watch it, maybe all of us. Don't you dare try to say what you think it's gonna look like or how good it's gonna. Don't you do it.
Listen, I would say that out of all the movies that DC has mentioned,
he gonna do it anyway. So when you get disappointed,
he does this all the time. He does this all the time.
What do you mean I do this all the time? I did not do this for DC. I'm saying that I like the way this movie looks. Even seeing Dr. Fate, when I saw Dr. Fate and how he looked in the movie, I said, okay. Hawkman, how he looked in the movie, I said, okay. Like if you're giving me these characters, you just got to deliver them. That's all I'm asking for. I'm not looking for a complex storyline.
The fact that DC has you asking questions again is the issue. That's the issue. You're asking questions again, right? Thought we learned that we don't do that with DC anymore. We go in, we watch the movie, and we see what happens.
Right.
I'm gonna enjoy it.
Thank you for the
I enjoyed DC's other movies, the Batman this year, so
I'm gonna watch it. That's the most I can say. What happens when I do? We'll see.
All right. Listen, everybody, you can find these gentlemen on Instagram, on social media, at Colors Everything, at I Am Legend, and of course at Sans Bergo. All right, peoples. Take care, brothers. I'll see you
man.
All right.
Bless you.
Yeah, take your son to sleep, man. Take care.
He's dying over there. All right, brother. And we are out.